Hey, good morning, folks. Or should I say early afternoonish, I guess. It's almost lunchtime now. Kind of getting a late start today because I had a few conference calls for work this morning, but as you can see, it's a little wet outside, so there's not a whole lot we can do in regards to field work or anything like that today. But I do have some errands to run. Got to go pay for fertilize this morning, which fertilizer prices right now are through the roof. We got some of our fertilize bought a little bit ago, but you know, it is what it is. I mean, if I'd have bought it, I guess last fall, probably would have been better off doing that. But same thing with chemicals. But we're not farming 1,000 acres, so it does it. Yeah, of course, anytime you've got higher input prices, it's going to affect, you know, how much money we make. But it's not as detrimental to, say, us as someone who grows, you know, thousands of acres, which, you know, you put another $50, $100 an acre on top of their input cost, it's going to be, you know, that's a lot of money. So, but we got to go pay for fertilize, and then I'm going to pick up some sprayer parts at a store in Seymour that sells them. Been working on our field sprayer, which you'll see this afternoon, because I'm probably, as long as it doesn't rain, I'll be working on it a little bit. But just past couple weeks I've been doing some updates to it, running some new hoses, that kind of thing. I robbed some parts off of an old sprayer that we don't use anymore, and which ended up being bad. On the old sprayer, which we haven't used in, I don't know, it's been several years, but the engine actually went bad in it, and I had to pull it out of the field, and we parked it. And so I don't actually think that I ended up winterizing it, so but I did rob some of the filters off of it, because the filters I thought were good, but since I didn't winterize it, apparently the canisters froze and busted, and so now I get to buy new canisters. So we're going to go do that and see where the day leads us. Hey, so we made it back from running errands today, and I don't know about the rest of you all, or I hate running errands, because there's nothing that kills a day quicker than just going and running around trying to get stuff, parts, pay bills, and that kind of thing. We did finally stop and pay for our fertilizer and the rest of our chemicals, so all of our seed, fertilize, chemicals are purchased for the year. We do have to purchase potting soil and the pots for our mums yet, but we'll be getting that done pretty soon. I've had the sprayer for a few years, and it's needed a little attention ever since I've bought it, and I never kind of got around to it. But last year, the control valve that controls the boom, so you've got your spray, and then you've got your booms back here where the water comes out, and this valve here is actually what, it's got a selector switch on it, and you can spray on the left side, right side, or in the middle. The one that came off of it was actually from John Deere, and I'll get this out here. So this is actually what come off of it, and you would just move these levers to you know, turn the booms on or off. And I hit it on something last year, and it stopped. It wasn't spraying correctly. We couldn't get any pressure out of it. So I went ahead this spring, and I got, you know, new hoses, new selector valve, new pressure regulator. All this stuff is all new. So even though I did all this work, I'm still having a slight problem here. You can kind of see this filter better here. This is somebody tightened that pretty tight. Wonder who that could have been. But the water goes through here, and it, you know, filters through this filter. It comes out. A lot of times you'll get, you know, particles and stuff in the tank, or this kind of keeps it from going through and plugging up some of the nozzles. But for whatever reason, now I put all this new stuff on here, and this is not exactly the same type of control valve that was on there. I just got this at Tractor Supply,
I'm having trouble with the agitation. So there's supposed to be water that comes through here, and I thought it was this particular line right here. It goes back and shoots water in the tank. It just kind of recirculates water, so it keeps the water moving, so the chemical doesn't set up, or it mixes it better up in the water solution. But on the diagram for this pump here, it looked like this was the agitation port. It was marked with an A, so I assumed that was agitation, but I can't get any flow out of it. So I can't get any flow into the tank. So either A, I've got it hooked up wrong, which is a good possibility, or B, that the jet inside the tank is plugged up, and I don't think that that is the case, because I've ran it for several hours the other day and still no water would go through it. So go figure. So what I think that I may end up doing, I've used these control valves before and I've never had all the ports hooked up. I've always had one blocked off. So we may end up blocking this off here and then putting this line over here on the return line, because really the return line, this return line is feeding back into the main suction line, and we really don't need two returns, because this here is returning into the tank, so we could just swap those lines over and just do away with one of them. So that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. So once I get all that done, the plan is to put water in the tank, turn the pumps on, and calibrate the how much water's coming out, so we know how much water is going on per acre. There's a little math involved in that, but first of all, I've got to figure out what pressure we're running there at the pressure gauge, and a few other things, and like I said, tidy up all this other stuff, make sure that agitator's working. But it's been a few weeks of me working on it here and there to get it to this point, but I'm happy with what it's turned out to be so far. Now usually we are filling this with a garden hose, so we would just stick a garden hose into that top lid up there, and it would always want to fall out. So I made this little apparatus, and I've got a quick neck that I can attach to a garden hose, and I've got a shut off here too. Oh, a little water in there. So this feeds directly into the tank, and then this is a 2-inch quick connect like this one. So if I'm filling at the field and I've got a water tank and a pump or something, I can fill it that way as well. And again, please don't judge my welds, because I'm not a welder. I just did the best I could there to kind of fix that. So I guess enough talking. We're going to go ahead and get at it and try to get this done. The sun's coming out, which is really nice. Probably going to come out of this shirt here a little bit. We're going to get to work. Recap. So I took the return line off that was going into the suction line there back to the back of the pump, capped that off. I left that line in place just in case this doesn't work, and I can always put it back together if I need to. This is the correct hose that goes to the agitator. It's back up underneath there. It goes into the tank. That right there is the pump. It's a hydraulic pump, so that's what pumps the water out. But this is pressure regulator, and it's running it. And this, you know, I had this in, I put this on here because it was on previously, and you can adjust the pressure by turning this up or down, which is effectively kind of what a pressure regulator is supposed to do. So I guess it doesn't really serve too much of a purpose, but we're going to leave it on there for now. It's not really hurting anything. I'm going to fire up the tractor here, turn on the pump, and see if we can get some pressure. Got water coming out the back. Oh, there we go. That's the pressure. And you might be upside down, and this is an awkward angle, but you can see there's kind of movement in the water there, so that means that there is agitation. And that little silver thing here in the front of the tank, that is where it's kind of agitating, but we need more agitation. I like a good amount of agitation in the tank because that's going to keep the chemicals really good and mixed in the water. So let's try boom number, let's try the right side, see what happens here. Alright folks, I've pretty much got all the nozzles back on the sprayer. I've just got these last few here in case I know there's varying degrees of agricultural experience or whatnot that you may be watching this, but if you never calibrated a sprayer, it's really not that difficult to do, and whether it's a big sprayer like this or just a small sprayer, you know, you can do it the same process for either one. But these are the tips that where the spray comes out, and basically these guys just go down in here, and then we're going to put a rubber washer and then one of our filters. So this is another filtration device that keeps because you know those holes are really small, you probably can't even see down in there. And if anything gets lodged in there, then it's going to mess up the volume of spray coming out. That's the strainers that I got, in case you were interested. I mean, you can really get any strainer. But then just poke it up here on this, twist and turn. Make sure your nozzle's facing the correct direction, which that is, so we're good there. But yeah, that's pretty much all it. And of course, I'm going to be one shy, but that's not going to keep us from calibrating this thing today. So as I was kind of stating before, regardless if you've got a big sprayer like this or if you've just got a little ATV sprayer with a boom that goes on your four-wheeler or golf cart or anything, the calibration process is really the same. The things that you have to know is how many gallons per minute that each nozzle is putting out. You have to know your nozzle spacing, and you have to know the rate of speed in which you will be traveling. And that rate of speed will have to be consistent. And while we're speaking about consistency, some other things that can change the volume, because what you're looking for is consistent volume throughout every nozzle throughout the entire sprayer. So you want, you know, all of your nozzles, you know, these items right here, to have the same nozzle tip, the same strainer, same strainers, you know, for in here, etc., and so on. So you want everything to be as much the same as possible, because if you have different nozzle tips in here, I mean, different ones can put out different rate of volume, so that's going to throw what you're looking for, and you're looking for a consistent volume over acre, half acre, or even, it doesn't have to be that big. But when you're mixing chemicals and calculating stuff like that, it's usually all done in acres. So but if you're doing less acres, then you just, you know, divide that down or whatever until whatever area you're dealing with. But it's really, again, it's not that complicated. We got some clean water in there. Make sure you got that. You don't want to have chemicals in there when you're doing this. But we'll turn the sprayer on. We'll get it to the pressure that we want on the pressure gauge, which we run about 25 psi. And then I'll come over here with this big measuring cup, and I'll hold it under here for 15 seconds. And then I'll take it off, and I'll measure how much water is in there. So once I do that, we'll take that number, and there's some math involved in this, and I'll kind of show you the equation. It's an equation I got a long time ago from a class I attended that UK put on. It was just dealt with calibrating sprayers and stuff like that. It was pretty informative. So we don't have any sophisticated precision ag stuff. You know, a lot of these newer sprayers today will tell you the rate that you're putting out up in the cab or whatever. It'll tell you how many gallons you're using per acre, and even allow for adjustments in there. It can automatically shut off rows and stuff like that. This is just, you know, if you don't have any of that stuff, or, you know, if you do have that stuff, and it's nice, but if it fails, you know, this little simple equation that you can put in your back pocket or take a picture of and put on your phone or whatever, you can always have it in case something were to go wrong, and you should, you know, be able to use it and calibrate your sprayer. So but again, it's kind of hard to do holding the camera and doing this as well. I might try to set something up, but again, we're just taking this cup and we're holding it, you know, underneath the nozzle there for 15 seconds, and then measuring how many ounces of water are coming out of there. And I'll do this a couple different times in a couple different places, just to make sure we're getting a consistent amount of volume that comes out of every nozzle. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. So we'll do that, and then do the little math equation to figure the rest of it out. Hey guys, it's actually the next day. We got a little busy last night trying to wrap up the sprayer. Pretty sure I got everything wrapped up, and I step outside and it starts to rain. Again, it's kind of been raining on and off all week, but all the nozzles are clean. I measured how much volume was coming out of each nozzle, and it was around 9 ounces in that 15 seconds. Some of the other things I went ahead and did is I replaced this hose on both sides. Made them a little bit longer, so when the booms get folded back in, they're not going to, you know, be kinking that hose. Same thing for this hose here on both sides, because that folds up. I didn't want that to kink. I went ahead and did away with that little valve that was here, because it really served no purpose at that point. Buttoned everything back up, got it tightened up, got that other hose out of there. So minus probably checking the tires, make sure there's enough air in the tires. This is good to go. I did discover a hydraulic leak in the tractor right here where this crimps onto this hose. That's where it's leaking. So we will have to work on that, and that's what I was actually trying to do in between rains here. But I did promise that I was going to show you how to calibrate a sprayer, and there's a handy little formula here I'll show you. And I know probably don't want to go through math class, but there is a little math involved. But anyone can do this for any sprayer whatsoever. The only thing you have to do is you have to have how much volume, you know, average volume your nozzles are putting out on your sprayer when you're testing it. So and you have to know how fast you're going to be traveling, and that's the two main things that you have to do to complete this formula. But I'll show it to you. So I'm not sure, hope you guys can see that there, and jot it down if you want to. The main thing you got to know is the volume coming out of the nozzles, the speed you're going to be traveling, and your nozzle spacing. So that's the three things that you have to know. So when I did a little math for us here. But as I was catching that volume inside of the canister. Again, I held it under there for 15 seconds. So we need to know ounces per minute. So since I only did it for 15 seconds, I got to multiply this 9 by 4. Now you could hold it under there for a minute if you want to, but you know your arm's going to get kind of tired there. But anyway, multiply 9 by 4, you're going to get 36. So it's 36 ounces per nozzle per minute. So at that point, you've got to convert this into gallons. So just to convert it by gallons, you divide it by 128 ounces, because that's there's 128 ounces in a gallon, and you come up with 0.28 gallons per minute. So once we have that little bit of math done, the 590/40 here, that is the constant. That is the thing that never changes in this equation. So all these other numbers can change, but this number will not change. So you multiply that by your gallons per minute, which is 0.28, and this is the number you get, 1663.2. So now you have to calculate, this is where the speed comes into, you account for the speed. So you have to multiply your speed times your nozzle spacing. So my sprayer has 20-inch nozzle spacing. If you got 15 or whatever that may be, you'd put that number in there, and that number would not change. But your speed, I did a couple different calculations here, just calculating 3.3 miles an hour and 4.5, because that's what my tractor goes in a certain gear selection. So that's what I have to deal with there. I don't have a miles per hour gauge on it, so it's just wide open in whatever gear that we put it in. And so if we're doing 3.3 miles per hour times 20, that's going to be 66. So then you just would divide this number that you got by multiplying the constants times the gallons per acre or minute, and you divide those two, and it comes out to 25.2 gallons per acre. So going 3.3 miles an hour and not changing anything on that setup that we have out there, not changing the pressure or anything like that, would be putting out 25 gallons of water per acre. That's 43,560 square feet. So just by bumping the speed up a little bit to 4.5 miles per hour, again, the only number would change is the difference between these two, because the nozzle spacing is staying the same, but we're changing the miles per hour. So that goes from 66 to 90. You still multiply the same number again that you multiply the constants times the gallons per minute by, but you divide that by 90, and that comes out to 18.5 gallons per acre. So just changing the speed, a little bit more than a mile an hour, changes that drastically quite a bit. You know, you're looking at what, close to 7 gallons an acre, something like that. So makes a big difference. So I know I kind of rambled on in this video quite a bit, especially about the math. I know probably you're not wanting to go to math class, but it could help you. Maybe hopefully help somebody out there. Who says that farmers don't need math, right? I didn't have an equation like that when I took algebra in high school. So anyway, it's starting to rain. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Got a bunch of different stuff we're getting into. Hopefully we're going to be getting into planting, spreading fertilize, and that kind of thing. Just kind of the weather's dictating that right now. So we'll see you soon. Bye.